All right, let's get right into it. The architect's first guardians, these massive cosmic serpents, had a tiny flaw. They could get hungry, and that hunger corrupted them. So he knew he needed a do-over, a new kind of guardian that couldn't be tempted, couldn't be bribed, mainly because it was never really alive in the first place. Today, we are talking about the Inviolate, the architect's perfect, incorruptible guardians, literally built from the laws of reality itself.
And this quote, it just nails what they are. See, they aren't soldiers fighting for a cause. They are the cause, made physical. They're walking, talking architecture, the very enforcement of the architect's grand design. To stand in front of one is to face a concept that simply will not, cannot bend.
So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll trace their entire kind of tragic life cycle. We'll start with how they were made, their job as heaven's managers, and, well, humanity's jailers. Then we'll dive into what happens when this perfect system shatters, leading to a lonely exile and, in the absolute worst cases, a transformation into something truly monstrous.
Okay, so the whole story kicks off with a massive design problem. The architect needed guards, but his first shot, the serpents, proved that biology was a huge liability. You know, anything that lives, feels, and wants things can eventually be broken. So he ditched biology entirely and went with something he thought was way more permanent: architecture.
And you can really see the difference here. On one side, you've got the serpents, these incredible cosmic creatures. Right up until Danica, the hidden daughter, introduced hunger to them, and that led to them eating like half of all creation. Whoops. The architect's solution, the Inviolate. Beings with zero instinct, zero desire, and absolutely nothing to exploit. They were literally designed to be immune to corruption itself.
And this is how he pulled it off. They're not born, they're built. Their very bodies are forged from something called crystallized law. Their faces are these cold, chiseled expressions of granite and silver. And their wings, yeah, they're not for flying. They're more like structural planes of pure light, like the flying buttresses on a cathedral, meant to hold up divine boundaries. The key takeaway is this: their job isn't to fight, it's to be the wall.
Now, within this massive group of living buildings, there's an elite tier. A select group of 14, called the High Inviolates, were basically upgraded for special jobs. They're the administrators of the architect's whole system, each one managing a core function of creation. They don't really rule, they manage.
So here we've got some of the big names. There's 𝗛𝘀𝗵𝘁, he's the warden of the abyss, Muriel is the sentinel of the sanctuary, and Gabriel, the voice of directive, is in charge of prophecies. What makes them look different is how refined they are. They're polished to a perfect mirror finish, and each one has this unique symbol, a command geometry carved right into their forehead that literally glows when they're using their authority.
So up until now, we've been talking on this huge cosmic scale. But now we're going to zoom all the way in to see their most direct and maybe their most disturbing impact on people. See, the architect didn't just need guards for heaven. He needed a system to claim and control every single human soul.
And this is exactly how they do it. The moment a baby is born, a ritual called the blessing attaches a teeny tiny invisible soul inviolate to its soul. This creates a kind of spiritual leash, a silver tether, which immediately reclassifies that soul as a system asset. That tether is also a firewall, blocking the influence of the mother's chaotic energy, and it guarantees that when that person dies, their soul is automatically reeled in and delivered right to the sanctuary.
And that right there, that is the absolute truth of this whole system. It's totally stripped of any kind of morality or kindness. It's got nothing to do with saving souls. It's all about managing assets. It is a cold, brutally efficient collection system designed to make sure every last piece of the architect's creation gets returned to him.
You see, the architect designed everything for perfection, for an unchanging stasis. But he has this one massive blind spot. He just doesn't get things like free will or trauma or the cosmic meddling of his secret daughter, Danica. So what happens when this supposedly perfect system has a catastrophic failure? Well, that brings us to the fracture, the moment of severance. That silver tether, the very tool of control, turns out to be not so unbreakable after all. And when it snaps, two things happen at once. The human soul is suddenly free, unlocked from its rigid path, and its little guardian, the soul Inviolate, is instantly orphaned.
So how in the world does a bond like this actually break? Well, there are a few ways. Severe psychological trauma can just rip the tether apart. Getting exposed to witchcraft, the flux of the mother's magic, can dissolve it. Sometimes Danica herself just snips one.
And in the rarest cases, a person with an unbelievably strong will can simply say no to heaven at the moment they die and shatter the tether themselves.
And this is where the real tragedy for the Guardian kicks in. An Inviolate that's been cut off from its purpose doesn't just die. It becomes a wanderer, an unbound ghost, a piece of architecture with no blueprint, no address, and no law to enforce. It is completely and utterly lost.
This wanderer then begins this endless, lonely journey through 3 sacred states. First, it exists as the solitary one, trapped in pure grief, just circling the spot where it lost its soul for centuries. Then, it might evolve into the sorrowful of heart, where it tries to atone by clumsily trying to fix reality. Finally, maybe after eons, it reaches the wise in mind, a state of cosmic enlightenment and just acceptance.
After reaching this ultimate state of wisdom, the Wanderer has one last choice to make. It can choose to just dissolve, unbind its form, its function, its memory, and peacefully fade away into the Mother's cosmic flow. Or it can refuse. It can cling to its grief, its obsession with its lost person, and look for a way to come back. And that choice leads to something straight out of a nightmare. This is the Odin Protocol. It's what happens when a guardian's grief is left to fester for millennia, curdling into a predatory obsession. When a being that was built for pure, unchanging order is forced to suffer an eternity of loss, it doesn't just break, it mutates.
And there's a very specific trigger for this mutation. The Wanderer, refusing to let go, has to find these ancient stasis runes hidden deep in the ruins of a labyrinth where the 13th serpent once hid. And these runes, they don't dissolve. They freeze. They preserve. And they corrupt. By using these runes, the Wanderer is reborn as a harbinger. In a move straight out of the old myths of Odin, it sacrifices one of its architectural eyes, giving up its connection to the architect's light. But in exchange, it gains the ability to see into the veiled beyond, becoming a godlike hunter, a soul reaper. And the result is a complete, horrifying flip of its entire purpose. The former guardian is now a predator. It hunts its original lost soul with a relentless fury, sure, but now it also sees all other souls as just fuel. It literally eats them to power up its new form, growing bigger and more monstrous with every spirit it consumes.
And here's the bottom line. The existence of even one stabilized harbinger is an apocalyptic event. It's the ultimate corruption of the divine, a guardian turned consumer. Its very presence starts to pull apart the architect's creation, triggering a total, systematic collapse of his law, an event known only as Ragnarok.
Which brings us all the way back to this really haunting question. I mean, from perfect enforcers of law to grieving ghosts to apocalyptic soul eaters, the Inviolate's journey is just this devastating look at what happens when absolute purpose is completely shattered. And it seems like the answer is terrifyingly simple. It becomes the hunt itself.